The soft hum of machinery filled the empty corridors of Unity Base, as most of the crew slept peacefully in their quarters. Only a few dedicated researchers remained awake, working through the quiet night shift. Among them was Vera, a curious young Zolonian with pale blue skin and large, intelligent eyes that sparkled with determination. Vera had been studying human technology for months now, fascinated by how differently humans approached problems compared to her own people. While Zolonians relied heavily on their natural empathic abilities to understand the world around them, humans seemed to solve everything through clever engineering and bold experimentation. Tonight, she was particularly excited because Dr. Kim Minho had finally given her permission to examine some of the more advanced human research projects. The interspecies laboratory was her favorite place on the entire station. Unlike the sterile, white walls of the Zolonian quarters, this lab felt alive with possibility. Colorful displays showed data from dozens of different worlds, and strange human gadgets lined the shelves. Vera loved how humans built tools for everything, even the smallest tasks. As the hours passed, Vera found herself getting thirsty. Her species needed to drink special nutrient solutions every few hours to maintain their empathic abilities. She looked around the lab and spotted what appeared to be her usual blue nutrient drink sitting on Dr. Kim Minho's workstation. The container looked exactly like the ones she always used, and she assumed the kind doctor had left it there for her, knowing she would be working late. Without giving it much thought, Vera picked up the container and drank it quickly. The liquid tasted slightly different than usual, with a sharp, almost metallic flavor that made her wrinkle her nose. She figured it might be a new formula the human medical team was testing. Humans were always trying to improve things, after all. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Vera continued her work, carefully documenting the strange human devices she was studying. But after about 10 minutes, she began to feel odd. Her skin started tingling in a way she had never experienced before. The sensation spread from her stomach outward, like tiny electric currents running through her entire body. Then her empathic abilities, normally as gentle as a quiet whisper in her mind, suddenly exploded into overwhelming noise. She could feel the emotions of every single person on the station, even those sleeping several levels away. The security guard's boredom, the night shift engineer's loneliness, the captain's worried dreams about tomorrow's mission, all of it crashed into her consciousness at once. Vera gasped and grabbed the edge of the workstation for support. Her large eyes began glowing brighter than normal, a sign of severe distress among her people. The room seemed to spin around her as wave after wave of foreign emotions flooded her mind. She had never felt anything like this before. It was as if someone had turned up the volume on her empathic abilities to an unbearable level. Her body temperature began rising rapidly, something that should have been impossible for a Zolonian. Her people were naturally cool-blooded, but now she felt like she was burning from the inside out. Sweat beaded on her pale blue forehead as she struggled to understand what was happening to her. The container she had drunk from caught her eye, and with growing horror, she read the label more carefully. It was not her nutrient solution at all. Instead, it was marked with human military symbols and warnings she could barely understand. Whatever she had consumed was definitely not meant for alien biology. Vera's legs gave out beneath her as the mysterious human serum continued its devastating work through her alien system. She collapsed onto the cold laboratory floor, her pale blue skin now flushed with an unnatural warmth that made her feel like she was trapped inside a furnace. The simple act of breathing became difficult as her lungs struggled to cope with her rapidly changing body chemistry. What made everything worse was the incredible assault on her empathic senses. Normally, Vera could choose when to tune into other people's emotions, like adjusting the volume on a radio. But now, every single feeling, from every living creature within hundreds of meters, was screaming directly into her mind all at once. The experience was like being forced to listen to 1,000 conversations simultaneously while standing next to roaring machinery. She could feel Lieutenant Park Gina's restless sleep 3 floors below, filled with anxiety about her sick mother. Back on Earth, the night janitor's quiet satisfaction as he cleaned the corridors mixed with Chief Engineer Lee Junho's frustration over a broken ventilation system. Even the small plants in the hydroponics bay seemed to pulse with their own strange life energy that her overloaded senses could somehow detect. The worst part was that she could not turn it off. Vera pressed her hands against her temples and tried every meditation technique her people had taught her since childhood. Nothing worked. The human military compound had somehow rewired her brain's natural filters, leaving her completely defenseless against the emotional chaos surrounding her. Her body temperature continued climbing to dangerous levels. Zelonians were supposed to maintain a steady, cool internal temperature, but now she felt like molten metal was flowing through her veins. Her pale blue skin had turned an alarming shade of purple, and steam was actually rising from her overheated body. This was completely impossible according to everything she knew about her own species. The empathic overload was getting stronger by the minute. Now she could sense emotions from people she had never even met, crew members working in distant parts of the massive space station. Dr. Kim Min-ho's intense concentration as he worked in his private lab felt like a sharp blade cutting through her thoughts. Captain Song Hana's deep worry about tomorrow's diplomatic mission crashed into her consciousness like ocean waves. Vera tried to crawl toward the emergency communication panel, but her muscles would not obey her commands properly. The human serum seemed to be affecting her motor control, as well as her empathic abilities. Her hands shook uncontrollably, and her vision kept blurring as waves of other people's emotions washed over her again and again. The strangest part was how the serum seemed to be amplifying not just her ability to sense emotions, but also her physical responses to them. When she picked up on someone's excitement, her own heart rate would spike dangerously. When she sensed sadness, her body would feel heavy and weak. It was as if the human military compound had created some kind of feedback loop between her empathic powers and her physical systems. Fear began mixing with all the other sensations flooding through her. This was completely uncharted territory. No Zelonian had ever consumed human military enhancement drugs before. She had no idea if her body could survive this experience or if the effects would be permanent. The thought of living the rest of her life trapped in this overwhelming sensory nightmare made her panic even more. Her glowing eyes began flickering like dying light bulbs as her alien nervous system struggled to cope with the foreign chemicals. Time seemed to stretch and compress around her as the empathic chaos continued building to unbearable levels. Dr. Kim Min-ho rubbed his tired eyes as he made his way back to the interspecies laboratory to retrieve some research notes he had forgotten earlier. The young scientist had been working 18-hour days for weeks, trying to perfect his new military enhancement formula. The project was supposed to help human soldiers stay alert and focused during long missions, but the testing phase was proving more challenging than expected. As he approached the lab doors, Min-ho noticed something was wrong. The lights inside were flickering in an unusual pattern, and he could hear strange sounds coming from within. When the doors slid open, he was shocked to find Vera collapsed on the floor, her normally pale blue skin now a deep purple color. Steam was actually rising from her overheated body, and her large eyes were glowing so brightly they hurt to look at directly. Min-ho rushed to her side immediately. As a scientist who had worked with many different alien species, he had never seen anything like this before. Vera was trembling uncontrollably, and when he tried to speak to her, she only responded with confused mumbling in her native language. Her skin felt burning hot to the touch, which should have been impossible for a Zelonian. That was when he noticed the empty container sitting on his workstation. His heart sank as he recognized it immediately. The military enhancement serum he had been developing was completely gone, and the container showed clear signs that someone had drunk its entire contents. Min-ho felt sick to his stomach as he realized what had happened. He quickly activated his emergency communicator. Medical emergency in Lab 7. I need Medic Park Gina here immediately. This is not a drill. His voice was steady, but inside he was panicking. The serum was designed specifically for human biology and had never been tested on aliens. He had no idea what it might do to a Zelonian nervous system. Medic Park Gina arrived within minutes, carrying her emergency medical kit and looking ready for action. She was one of the best medical professionals on the station, known for her calm approach to crisis situations. But even she stopped short when she saw Vera's condition. "What happened to her?" Gina asked as she immediately began taking readings with her medical scanner. The device was beeping frantically, showing vital signs that made no sense for a Zolonian physiology. Minho explained the situation quickly, his words tumbling over each other in his rush to convey the urgency. "She accidentally consumed my military enhancement serum. It was designed to boost human adrenaline and focus, but I have no idea how it affects alien biology. Her body temperature is way too high, and look at her eyes." Gina's scanner was showing readings that seemed impossible. Vera's neural activity was off the charts, far beyond anything either human or Zolonian brains were supposed to handle. Her empathic organ systems, which humans barely understood to begin with, were showing energy levels that the scanner could not even properly measure. "We need to get her to the medical bay immediately," Gina said, already preparing a portable stretcher. "But I have to be honest with you, Minho. I have no idea how to treat this. Human medicine was not designed for empathic species, especially not ones that have consumed our military compounds." As they carefully moved Vera onto the stretcher, Minho felt the full weight of responsibility crushing down on him. His enhancement serum was supposed to help people, not cause this kind of catastrophic reaction. The young Zolonian, who had always been so eager to learn about human technology, was now suffering because of his creation. During the quick journey to the medical bay, Vera's condition seemed to be getting worse. She was muttering constantly now, apparently responding to emotions and thoughts from people all over the station. It was as if the human serum had somehow turned her natural empathic abilities into a weapon against her own mind. In the medical bay, Vera's condition took a terrifying turn for the worse. What had started as her own personal crisis was now beginning to affect everyone around her. Medic Park Gina was the first to notice something strange happening when she suddenly felt overwhelmed by emotions that were not her own. Fear, confusion, and burning heat seemed to flood her mind from nowhere, making her hands shake as she tried to work. Dr. Kim Minho experienced the same phenomenon moments later. While trying to analyze blood samples from Vera, he was suddenly hit by waves of intense sensory overload that made him dizzy and disoriented. It felt like someone was broadcasting raw emotion directly into his brain, and the sensation was both frightening and completely alien to human experience. The situation became clear when they realized that Vera's supercharged empathic abilities were no longer just receiving emotions from others. The human military serum had somehow reversed the process, causing her to project her own overwhelming sensations outward to anyone nearby. Her distress, pain, and sensory chaos were now spreading like an invisible infection through the medical bay. Nurse Kim Sora, who had been called in to assist, suddenly collapsed while checking Vera's vital signs. She clutched her head and cried out in confusion as alien thoughts and feelings crashed into her human mind. The experience was so intense that she could not even form coherent words to explain what was happening to her. Within an hour, the effect had spread beyond the medical bay. Crew members working on nearby decks began reporting strange symptoms. Security Officer Lee Daeon called in from 3 levels down, saying that his entire patrol team was experiencing sudden dizzy spells and emotional confusion. Engineer Choi Miran reported that her technical staff was having trouble concentrating because of overwhelming feelings that seemed to come from nowhere. Captain Song Hana arrived in the medical bay looking extremely concerned. As the station commander, she needed to understand the full scope of this crisis immediately. "How many people are affected?" she asked Minho directly. "We think anyone within about 100-meter radius," Minho replied, his voice tight with worry. "Vera's empathic abilities have been amplified far beyond normal limits. She's not just sensing emotions anymore, she's broadcasting her own distress to everyone nearby." The captain's expression grew even more serious as she considered the implications. Unity Base housed over 300 people from a dozen different species. If Vera's condition continued to worsen, the empathic feedback could potentially affect the entire station. Crew members who could not think clearly or control their emotions would be unable to perform critical functions like navigation, life support, or emergency response. Dr. Park Gina was struggling to monitor her patients while dealing with the constant emotional interference herself. The human crew members seem to be handling it better than some of the other species, she reported. But even we are having trouble functioning normally. I can barely concentrate long enough to read my medical instruments. The most frightening aspect was that Vera's projections seemed to be getting stronger over time rather than weaker. The military serum was still circulating through her system, and each hour brought new waves of intensified empathic output. What had started as occasional emotional bursts was now becoming a constant stream of overwhelming sensations. Communications Officer Park Hee-sung reported from the bridge that some crew members were experiencing strange dreams and hallucinations, even while awake. The empathic interference was apparently affecting human sleep patterns and subconscious processes in ways that no one had ever encountered before. Captain Song Hana made the difficult decision that everyone knew was coming. We need to evacuate the affected sections immediately and establish a containment perimeter. This cannot be allowed to spread to the entire station. Security Chief Lee Junho moved with military precision as he coordinated the emergency evacuation. His years of experience in crisis management were being put to the ultimate test as crew members stumbled through the corridors, many of them still disoriented by the strange empathic interference. Junho had never dealt with anything like this before, but his training taught him to adapt quickly to unexpected situations. "Seal off decks 5 through 7, he ordered his security team through his communicator. "No one goes in or out without my direct authorization. Set up temporary quarters for the evacuated personnel in the cargo bay areas." His calm, authoritative voice helped keep panic from spreading among the confused crew members. Meanwhile, Dr. Kim Minho and Medic Park Jina found themselves facing the biggest medical puzzle of their careers. They had managed to move Vera to an isolated treatment room, but her condition was still deteriorating. The young scientist felt the weight of responsibility heavily on his shoulders as he worked frantically to understand what his serum was doing to alien biology. Gina had called in Dr. Yoon Soo-ho, the station's expert on xenobiology, to help analyze Vera's unique anatomy. Unlike humans, Zilonians had specialized organs that processed empathic energy, similar to how human lungs processed oxygen. These organs were completely foreign to human medical knowledge, and understanding them was crucial to helping Vera. "Look at this," Dr. Yoon said, pointing to the scanning results displayed on their medical monitor. "The human military compound is not being processed by her liver or kidneys like it would be in a human body. Instead, it is concentrating in these empathic organs and creating some kind of biological amplification effect." Minho studied the scans carefully, his engineering mind working to understand the problem from a technical perspective. "It is like the serum is turning her empathic organs into biological transmitters," he realized. Instead of just receiving emotional signals, they are now broadcasting them at incredibly high power levels. The discovery explained why Vera's condition was affecting everyone around her. The human enhancement serum, designed to boost adrenaline and focus in human soldiers, was instead supercharging the alien organs responsible for empathic communication. It was as if someone had accidentally connected a small radio to a massive power amplifier. Park Jina was monitoring Vera's vital signs, while trying to filter out the emotional interference she was receiving. "Her empathic organs are working so hard that they are overheating her entire body," she reported. "If we cannot find a way to reduce the energy output, the organs might burn themselves out completely." Dr. Yoon brought up comparison scans from healthy Zilonians in the medical database. "Normal empathic organ activity shows energy levels around 50 units, he explained. "Vera's readings are over 800 units and still climbing. No Zilonian physiology was ever designed to handle this kind of power load." The three human doctors worked together, combining their different areas of expertise to tackle the unprecedented challenge. Minho understood the military serum's chemical composition, Gina knew emergency medical procedures, and Yoon had studied alien biology for decades. Their collaboration represented humanity's greatest strength, the ability to work together and adapt to completely new situations. "We need to think about this like an engineering problem," Minho suggested. "If her empathic organs are being overloaded with energy, Maybe we can create some kind of circuit breaker or dampening system to reduce the output. Gina nodded thoughtfully. Humans have always been good at building tools to solve problems. Maybe we can design something that works with Zolonian biology instead of against it. Their human ingenuity was about to be tested in ways none of them had ever imagined. Dr. Kim Min-ho stared at the complex diagrams filling his workstation screen, his mind racing through possibilities that had never been attempted before. The challenge was unlike anything human science had ever faced, creating technology that could work safely with completely alien biology. But this was exactly the kind of impossible problem that brought out the best in human creativity and determination. We need to approach this like building a dam for a flooding river, Min-ho explained to his team as he sketched out his initial concept. Vera's empathic organs are being flooded with energy from the military serum. Instead of trying to stop the flood, we need to redirect it safely. The solution that emerged from Min-ho's engineering background was both elegant and daring. He proposed creating a biodampening field generator that would surround Vera's treatment area. The device would use electromagnetic fields tuned specifically to Zolonian neural frequencies, essentially creating an invisible barrier that could absorb and redirect the excess empathic energy she was broadcasting. Dr. Park Gina watched as Min-ho began assembling components from various human technologies around the station. He cannibalized parts from communication equipment, medical scanners, and even the ship's navigation systems. "Are you sure this will work?" she asked, noting how he was combining technologies that were never meant to work together. "Honestly, I have no idea," Min-ho admitted with a tired smile. "But humans have always been good at making things work even when they should not. We built spaceships before we fully understood physics, and we are going to build this device before we fully understand Zolonian biology." The most challenging part was calibrating the device to Vera's specific neural patterns. Unlike human brains, which were relatively similar from person to person, each Zolonian had completely unique empathic signatures. Min-ho needed to create a device that could adapt in real time to her changing condition while filtering out only the dangerous effects of the military compound. Engineer Choi Miran joined the team, bringing her expertise in energy systems. "We are basically trying to build a selective filter for emotions," she said, studying Min-ho's designs. "It needs to let Vera's natural empathic abilities function normally while blocking the amplified signals caused by the serum." The work required incredible precision. Too little dampening and Vera would continue affecting everyone around her. Too much dampening and they might permanently damage her natural empathic abilities, leaving her cut off from the fundamental part of what made her. Zolonian Dr. Yoon Suho provided crucial biological data as they worked. "Her empathic organs pulse in specific patterns," he explained, pointing to the real-time monitoring displays. "If we can sync the dampening field to match those natural rhythms, we might be able to work with her biology instead of fighting against it." Hours passed as the human team worked with remarkable focus and collaboration. They tested component after component, adjusting frequencies and power levels based on Vera's responses. The device that emerged looked like nothing anyone had ever seen before, a combination of human engineering and alien biology requirements that pushed the boundaries of both sciences. Communications specialist Kim Sora helped fine-tune the signal processing elements. "It is like trying to remove static from a radio while keeping the music clear," she observed. "We need to identify exactly which frequencies represent the dangerous interference and filter out only those." As dawn approached on Unity Base, the biodampening field generator was finally ready for testing. The device represented humanity's greatest strength, the ability to innovate under pressure and create solutions that had never existed before. Whether it would work remained to be seen, but it embodied the human spirit of never giving up when lives were at stake. The alarm bells throughout Unity Base created an urgent rhythm as Dr. Kim Min-ho and his team rushed to install the biodampening field generator around Vera's medical bed. Time was running out fast. The monitoring equipment showed that her empathic organs were approaching complete overload, and if they burned out, she might never recover her natural abilities again. "Careful with those power cables," Engineer Choi Moran called out as she connected the main energy feeds. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the cool air in the medical bay. One wrong connection could overload the entire system, or worse, send a dangerous electrical surge through Vera's already stressed body. Vera herself was barely conscious now, her pale blue skin flickering between normal color and that alarming purple shade. Her eyes had become so bright that looking directly at them was painful. Dr. Park Gina monitored her vital signs with growing concern. "Her heart rate is becoming irregular," she reported. "We have maybe 10 minutes before her system goes into complete failure." The dampening device looked like something from a science fiction movie. Strange antenna-like projectors surrounded the medical bed, connected by thick cables to a control unit that hummed with barely contained energy. Dr. Yoon Suho was making final adjustments to the biological sensors, trying to match the device's output to Vera's rapidly changing neural patterns. "The empathic readings are spiking again," he announced, watching the displays with intense focus. "Her organs are putting out almost 1,000 energy units now. I have never seen anything like this in any species." Security Chief Lee Junho coordinated the evacuation of additional deck sections as Vera's influence continued spreading. His security teams were working efficiently despite the emotional interference they were experiencing. "We have cleared everyone within a 200-meter radius," he reported through his communicator. "But some crew members on the outer edges are still reporting symptoms." Dr. Minho was frantically checking the calibration settings one final time. The mathematics involved were incredibly complex, requiring him to balance electromagnetic field strength, frequency modulation, and biological feedback loops all simultaneously. Human engineering had never attempted anything this sophisticated. "Therefore, power levels are stable," Moran announced from the control station. "All systems show green across the board. But remember, we only get one chance at this. If the initial activation fails, we might not have time for a second attempt." The most nerve-wracking part was that they were essentially experimenting on a living person with technology that had never been tested. If their calculations were wrong, the dampening field could do more harm than good. But watching Vera's condition deteriorate, they knew doing nothing was not an option. "Initiate startup sequence," Minho ordered, his finger hovering over the activation switch. Around him, his human teammates held their breath as the device began powering up. The projectors started glowing with a soft blue light that seemed to resonate with Vera's natural empathic energy. Dr. Gina watched the medical monitors intently. "Her vital signs are stabilizing slightly," she reported with cautious hope. "But the empathic organ readings are still critical." "Adjusting field harmonics," Dr. Yoon called out, fine-tuning the settings in real time based on Vera's responses. This was the moment that would determine whether human ingenuity could overcome the crisis they had accidentally created. The dampening field reached full power, just as Vera's empathic organs hit their absolute maximum output. For a terrifying moment, it seemed like the technology might not be enough. Then slowly the dangerous energy readings began to decrease as the human-built device started absorbing and redirecting the overwhelming empathic signals. The soft blue glow of the biodampening field filled the medical bay as the device began working its miracle. Within minutes of activation, the overwhelming chaos that had gripped Unity Base started to fade. Dr. Kim Minho watched the control displays with amazement as the empathic energy readings dropped from dangerous levels into something approaching normal ranges. Vera's body responded almost immediately to the relief. Her skin color began shifting back from that alarming purple to her natural pale blue, and the steam that had been rising from her overheated body gradually disappeared. For the first time in hours, her breathing became steady and peaceful instead of the labored gasps that had worried everyone. Dr. Park Gina monitored the changes with professional fascination. "Her heart rate is normalizing," she reported, unable to hide the excitement in her voice. "Body temperature is dropping back to healthy Zolonian levels. The dampening field is actually working exactly as designed." The most remarkable thing was watching how the human-built technology adapted to work with alien biology. The device was constantly adjusting its output based on feedback from Vera's empathic organs, creating a delicate balance that allowed her natural abilities to function while filtering out the dangerous amplification caused by the military serum. Engineer Choi Moran studied the energy flow patterns on her displays. The field is absorbing about 70% of her excess empathic output, she explained. Just enough to prevent the overload, but not so much that we damage her normal abilities. It is like having a pressure relief valve that knows exactly when to open and close. Throughout the station, crew members began reporting that the strange emotional interference was fading away. Security Chief Lee Junho received updates from his teams stationed around the quarantine perimeter. The affected areas are clearing. Up, he announced. People are able to think clearly again and return to their normal duties. Dr. Yoon Suho was fascinated by how human medical techniques were proving effective on completely alien physiology. We are essentially using electromagnetic therapy to treat empathic organ dysfunction, he mused. 6 months ago, I would have said such a thing was impossible, but humans have this remarkable ability to make the impossible work. The slow process of metabolizing the foreign military compound was equally impressive to observe. Vera's alien biology was gradually breaking down and eliminating Minho's enhancement serum, but in ways that were completely different from human detoxification processes. Her empathic organs seemed to be converting the excess chemical energy into harmless byproducts that her system could safely eliminate. Look at these cellular activity readings, Dr. Gina said, pointing to her medical scanner results. Her body is not just removing the serum, it is actually learning from the experience. Her empathic organs are developing new pathways to handle energy surges, almost like building up immunity. Minho felt a mixture of relief and scientific curiosity as he watched his accidental creation being safely processed by alien biology. The human enhancement compound was designed to boost neural activity temporarily, he observed. But in Zolonian physiology, it seems to be creating permanent improvements to empathic sensitivity and control. As the hours passed, Vera began, showing signs of regaining consciousness. Her large eyes fluttered open occasionally, and she seemed more aware of her surroundings. The constant glow that had made her eyes painful to look at was now reduced to a gentle sparkle that actually seemed quite beautiful. The dampening field continued its steady work, proving that human engineering could adapt to solve problems that had never existed before. The collaboration between human technology and alien biology was creating something entirely new, a treatment method that could help both species understand each other better in the future. 3 weeks after the crisis, Vera sat comfortably in the interspecies laboratory, looking healthier and more vibrant than anyone had ever seen her before. The dangerous effects of Dr. Kim Minho's military serum had completely faded, but something wonderful had remained behind. Her empathic abilities were now more precise and controlled than any Zolonian had achieved in recorded history. I can actually choose exactly what emotions to sense and from whom, Vera explained to the gathered research team, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Before the accident, my empathic abilities were like listening to a crowded room where all the voices blended together. Now it is like having perfect hearing that can focus on one specific conversation while filtering out all the background noise. Dr. Minho watched with amazement as Vera demonstrated her enhanced capabilities. She could detect emotional states from crew members several decks away, but only when she chose to focus on them. More importantly, she had gained the ability to project calming influences to help stressed or anxious people, something that could revolutionize psychological treatment for both humans and aliens. The breakthrough discoveries kept coming as the human medical team studied what had happened. Dr. Park Gina had documented every stage of Vera's recovery, creating the first comprehensive guide for treating cross-species medical emergencies. We learned that human enhancement compounds can actually improve alien biology in unexpected ways, she explained in her official report. But only with proper technological intervention and careful monitoring. Engineer Choi Miran had taken the biodampening field technology and developed it into a whole new field of medical equipment. Human hospitals throughout the galaxy were now requesting similar devices to help treat patients with various neurological conditions. The technology that had been invented to save one alien's life was now helping thousands of beings across multiple species. Captain Song Hana established comprehensive new safety protocols based on lessons learned from the incident. From now on, all experimental substances must be clearly labeled in multiple languages, she announced to the station crew. Additionally, any research involving compounds that could affect alien biology requires approval from our cross-species medical board. The most significant change was the creation of the Interspecies Medical Emergency Response Team, led jointly by human doctors and alien specialists. Dr. Yoon Suho worked with Zelonian healers to develop treatment protocols that combined the best of both medical traditions. Human technological innovation, paired with alien biological knowledge, created healing methods more effective than either species could achieve alone. Vera's enhanced abilities proved invaluable for ongoing research projects. She could now sense the emotional states of test subjects with perfect accuracy, making psychological studies more reliable than ever before. Her collaboration with human researchers led to breakthroughs in understanding how different species experienced stress, happiness, and fear. The accident that had nearly caused a station-wide crisis became the foundation for a new era of cooperation between humans and aliens. Universities across human space began developing programs in xenobiology, while alien institutions started studying human engineering principles. The knowledge exchange benefited everyone involved. Most importantly, the incident demonstrated humanity's commitment to protecting and helping their alien allies, even when human technology caused unexpected problems. The fact that humans had worked tirelessly to save Vera, inventing entirely new technologies in the process, strengthened bonds of trust throughout the interspecies community. Vera often reflected on how a simple mistake had led to such positive changes. Her accidental consumption of human military serum had been terrifying, but it ultimately brought two species closer together and advanced medical science by decades. The combination of human determination and alien cooperation had created something beautiful from what could have been a tragedy.